The cracks are showing for Nvidia, and we're going to get into some more technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta going forward, looking at AMC and GME as well. As a crack has just now been shown for Nvidia, we'll have to see if we're going to head higher, as this is the first point we were paying attention to live. So I'm having to do this. I don't have a ton of time today, so I'm going to roll through these very, very quickly, and I just want you guys to be ready for that. And also, I'll get you those daily expected moves for the SPY and the Qs tomorrow morning during the live video, because I got to wait for that implied volatility to really tell me what number to use to calculate. So let's get into it real quick. Going into the SPY, what did we notice using the daily expected moves for today? Well, we noticed that we were able to bust up. We went up towards that daily expected move upside. We got that risk to the upside there, and we see some sellers come in down here. And what happens? Well, we bounce up and we end back in that zone by the end of the day, but we are within that weekly range. So we'll pay attention to that. Remember, this is still pretty far away from the center line. So if we wanted to tomorrow, we could see another curl up move, and maybe we need to get that daily expected move tomorrow morning live, because we could head up and maybe we create some kind of divergence up here outside of the weekly move. And by the end of the day, that's ripped away. We will pay attention to that. As of right now, for the SPY on the 2 hour, we were talking about this live. This is overall what we were saying. We were like, if we test up in these areas, it's really looking like a 2 hour pullback is likely the most likely scenario. So am I still holding true to my, hey, some kind of top forming, some kind of major top forming in the next, pretty much by the end of June, in the next 30 days, we put out that video and we're hitting about to that 30-day mark. We got a few days left in us, and now we're starting to see those cracks. And it's important to pay attention to that statement, 30 days, right? That's because we don't know how much they are going to mess with the market, and it looks like they're messing with it as much as possible. And now we're getting up to higher levels. We're seeing retail start to comment on Twitter saying you're an idiot if you're not in the market right now, and that's usually a good sign that we're about to find some kind of top. Now, I just did want to point out something here. This could be some kind of top. This could be a major top, but what if we actually curl down to the center line and curl back up? We are still very far away from the center line, so in order to actually see some kind of crash, you're going to have to cross down on this 2 hour, and I think we have the potential to maybe even build down for a while and see some kind of bounce going into the middle of June, and we will talk about that when it forms. But as of right now, we're popping down below the weekly expected move, 68% chance when you're up here that you drop down. Awesome. And we came outside of that daily expected move and we popped back up. So everything made sense as far as today goes. On the Qs, you're seeing a similar thing, except this one here didn't really get up towards the upside and saw a downside move. So for the Qs, once again, you just want to pay attention. If that 2 hour curls down and curls back up, that is going to mean more positivity, right? Positive territory, no real divergences up here. Now, we don't have to have divergences for a major top, and that's why I'm still holding true to it as of right now. But if we start to curl up in these areas, then I'm going to start to say, okay, it looks like we may be getting some kind of bounce upward. Or if this just has some room, it goes like this, and maybe we bounce up, and then we want to see some kind of turnaround like this, we will be paying attention to upside here. But the downside right now, the Q is telling you we are in a 2 hour pullback. So the direction as of right now is down, and you're in positive territory. So anytime this wants to curl up, it's going to be a good thing. So that's why you have to pay attention to the 30-minute. This would be the bullish case. The bearish case is we're just getting some kind of pullback right now. That's all we have. Now, if we look at the 30-minute though, this could curl up and go positive. Okay, so if we wanted to see some kind of extra move up, that would make some sense here, and we'll look out for a divergence that's closer to the center line. Big options expiration tomorrow, so pay attention to your signals. We actually posted a few things on Patreon, and we're going to talk about those later on in the video after AMC and GME, talking about the VIX, how volatility looks like it's about to come screaming back in over the next couple of weeks. So Apple going forward, this was still breaking down. So the difference here with Apple is it said 2 hour pullback. That's what it's in right now. And if the 30-minute bounces up early on in the day, you got to watch out for that thing crossing back down, because you are negative on a 30-minute chart for Apple. But if we pull up the 2 hour, what are you noticing? Well, we're just in a 2 hour pullback as of right now. So the level to pay attention to is 206. 206 is going to be really where you want to pay attention. See if you can see a little bit of a bounce right here. See if you can see some kind of a bounce from that 206 level. If you lose that, you could see dramatic selling. So we have to talk about some dramatic selling, but I think options expiration, they may wiggle this thing back up. They may wiggle a lot of stocks back up to confuse people. So just more so, you want to watch the beginning hour of the day if you're seeing that positivity, and really watch if that starts to give up by the end of the day. Tesla, as we look forward here, it did break out. I think some kind of retest could be happening. Now, this isn't the best pattern. This isn't the best triangle here. This is more just a trend line at this point. So we could maybe go retest that trend line. As you see right here, the 2-hour is saying I'm in a pullback. So it could pull back. If that curls up, positive territory, positive move. Okay, we're still trading like water, looking at both scenarios. We're never going to be too bearish, too bullish, even though it's starting to look like we should get a little bit worried about a big drop coming. Now, if we're going to see positivity early on in the day for Tesla, well, you're going to see this 30-minute curl up, and watch out for a retest. I would really watch out for a retest and see if that's given up, and then you'll be really close to that center line for this to curl back down. And maybe your timing was just a little bit off here, and this would be risk management, right? So if we take anything here and we see that pull down, awesome, and then we see that bounce up, well, this would be a sign, hey, this could just go ballistic to the upside. So I want to pay attention to that. But as of right now, I think the most likely scenario for Tesla, maybe going into tomorrow, is either that 2-hour keeps going down for a pullback, or this 30-minute pops up and we get some kind of retest. We'll pay attention to this live tomorrow. So Amazon, this one here, seeing some strength, and we mentioned the double bottom. Okay, we mentioned the double bottom, we mentioned the double bottom, we mentioned the divergence here, led to a pop, now we dip back down. Okay, the timing was just a little bit off. We got the stronger base, and we started to head up. This is a good example of tapering, right? You see this downward move, that changes to a sideways move, that changes to a flat move, and now you start to change that direction. That's tapering in its finest right there. Good little trade setup for Amazon. Now, was that able to curl up the 2-hour? Yes, it was. So this thing is still pointing positive out as of right now. This 2-hour chart here is saying positivity for Amazon, so I'm going to be paying attention to my weekly expected moves, because going into Friday, I want to be aware that options expiration, people could take profit at the end of the day. There's a lot of money on the line, so if we see something like this throughout the day, I am going to be paying attention closely to Amazon, most likely on my other screen, or we'll click back over to this when people do ask us to look at it. Now we're going to get into Nvidia, and this is where I told you guys, I said I'm starting to build a position here. I think this is where the cracks are really showing, or about to show, and I told you guys on the 30-minute I was going to take my second position. I was able to do that. It was very, very cheap. I took that position right about here. I saw the strong move down, closing below these moving averages, boom, and then we head down. So I already took a little bit of profit off the table here, just so you know. I took a little bit of profit off the table because this 30-minute could just curl up for one more move tomorrow. And the reason that I overall took a little bit of money off the table was just because I want to make sure to be playing with house money in this, and I want to make sure to pay attention to any kind of reversal signal. And I saw this 5-minute divergence, and I said they could just rig this thing to go up one more time. So I will be giving out the daily expected moves for every stock that we cover on this channel in Patreon, which the link is in the description, and so is the link for the $100 course, right? It's only $100 right now to take my course, and it will teach you a lot of these things. And volatility going up would be a good thing to get that course when volatility is higher, because you get bigger swings and we can make some good money. I'm very, very good in a bear market. I'm so excited for that. So when volatility is higher, I just love when volatility is higher, bigger swings. So notice the double bottom here. That's why I'm being a little bit cautious here, taking a little bit of profit, making sure to just leave the rest for pretty much whatever I had in profit here, I just left on the table to the downside. So if I see a downward move, I'm still going to make money, but I took all of my risk pretty much out of this trade from this downturn right here. So paying attention to this going forward, you just want to see if the 30-minute is able to curl up. That would be positive territory right there. Awesome. Now, if we're going to see further downside, which it looks like we're seeing that in the post market right now, then this would be overall a pullback right now. Okay, pull back to the center line, curl back up. Anytime this curls back up, we're going to see the next positive move. But maybe if we start to break through this, we can see a positive move up into this area for a retest, and maybe we get some kind of lower high. We will pay attention closely to Nvidia. AMD, this one here, just a rocket ship. We talked about AMD and how I was kind of like, this thing looks like it really wants to bounce. I've been saying that for a little while down in these areas. I was like, this thing really looks like it wants to get a good bounce, looks like it wants, and then we dip down one more time. We create this. This wasn't the best divergence. You have it across the way, but you have it on the RSI down here. So that is interesting. This is overall leaning me towards some kind of just dead cat bounce, some kind of overreaction here. But we'll pay attention to it, because as of right now, you may get a 30-minute pullback. So if this 30-minute MACD turns down, that's telling us, hey, this might be in a pullback. And if that turns back around, hey, it might still be bullish. So at this point, the 2-hour going up pretty dramatically, trying to go positive. Look at that, trying to go positive down here. Very, very interesting. We said, hey, if this breaks out of here, that'd be a good sign for a retest. But now we're going back into the structure. So this trend line still does matter at this point. Really pay attention if the 2-hour is able to keep gaining strength here, because we could just see that rotate up for a while and then curl down by the end of the day. So be cautious with all these stocks. Nvidia is showing cracks in this area. Meta, this one here, it's been pulling back for a while. So Meta actually looks a little bit better from the 2-hour chart, right? It just looks like a regular pullback, regular little pullback, very controlled, very controlled in here. And if this one wants to turn up, we could see a few days of positivity out of this 2 hour. So we'll pay attention to that, but I got to take it with a grain of salt because of the options expiration. So if I do pop up like this for a moment and curl right back down, I might see some divergence, and maybe the selling comes in after options expiration next week. So that's something to pay attention to. As we look over at AMC, what are we noticing? Well, the 2 hour never curled up, and this is my overall big signal that there's going to be upside. But if they're going to make it easy on us, then they would give us this signal. But if they're going to make it difficult as of tomorrow with all the calls that are rolling into AMC and GME, well, they're going to maybe make it a little more complicated. The thing I was paying attention to on the 30-minute was how when Nvidia initially started to turn down, AMC was starting to pop, okay? So AMC was starting to pop when that turned down. And I posted this to Patreon just because you need at least like trading charts, like, right? This channel is dedicated to learning. And one thing you really need to understand is you at least need a reason to take a trade, not, oh, this stock just went up dramatically, so therefore it's good and I have to do. No, a good thing to learn is learn how to see momentum dying out. And this is momentum dying out to the downside. We see the divergence. We see it on the MACD. We see it on the RSI at the same time. And it's all the way across these. Now you're getting a slightly higher low. We'll see if that can gain some ground, as that has confirmed. This right here told me to get into that position. So I am in this again with a little bit bigger position at this point. The position I've been trading back and forth, I am back in with this kind of signal, but this is a contrarian bullish signal. So if you want this to go up, it's got to cross that center line. If you want AMC to go up, it's got to cross up on the 2 hour. That is a big deal. So as of right now, I just wanted to let you know you're still in an overall daily pullback. You're in a daily pullback, but you have a lot of things going on with this tomorrow, with the FTDs, with the T plus 35, and it looks like that was the main signal. And when I wrote out what I would do if I was Roaring Kitty, this is exactly how it would play out. And then if it doesn't play out this time, then I would really be paying attention to July 19th. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I don't want to tell you too much about what his plan probably is, because I don't want some shill to come in here and notify people, because I know how to analyze these things, and it looks like July 19th would be the next point to really pay attention, because that would be the next point where they may have to do a similar move to today or to tomorrow. So we'll pay attention to this, but I think the big pop maybe comes in next week if this comes to light. If it doesn't, then we have to say they're fighting the stock even more, and the more they fight the stock, the bigger the pop in the future if retail is able to hold it up. Last note about AMC, if you want to see some kind of squeeze, even a gamma squeeze, you have to get above 599. That's very important. GME, looking at this one, well, we see some good price action actually on the daily scale. We see some good green bar here, but it's still kind of within the previous bar, so take it with a grain of salt. But you'll notice the daily still in a daily pullback. So in order to get that to cross back up, you at least need the 2 hour to cross up, and look how close it was at the end of the day to crossing up. But like I said, if they're going to make it visually look awful, then they're not going to give you confirmations of these signals. So if we start to break out of this, you can see an upward move, but if you want to see some kind of squeeze, you got to get above 37.26. You got to get above it. So the 2 hour down here needs to cross and go positive. That's what your MACD is telling you here, and the 30-minute needs to go positive as well. As of right now, it's trickling up to the center line, right? Trickling up to the center line. If they want to, this could cross over negative territory. That would not be a good thing for GME. That would say test the low, go make a new one. You're still within this triangle here, so we'll see if we can get a breakout. But as of right now, 30-minute curls down, bad news for the price action. If the 2 hour curls up, good news for the price action. And that's how you have to look at it when it comes to GameStop. So one reason that I'm paying attention to a little bit more upside is because I'm seeing a few signals here. I know I don't look at 15 minutes and stuff like that on the dollar too often, but we're coming up into, this is how you know that you're good at finding levels to pay attention to when they start to prove in the future. We marked this off a long time ago, back in the middle of April. Actually, we marked these off, and it's proven to be very important level to watch, right? So this again proving to be important. We're trying to break through it. The important part is the daily is positive, but the reason I'm looking at this right now is I'm seeing a little 15-minute wonkiness here that could lead to the dollar losing some ground, which might mean good things for stocks initially. And the reason I'm paying attention to this right now is because of Volatility showing me a slight little 5-minute divergence, even a 15-minute rejection divergence for some kind of maybe double top up here. So I'm paying close attention to it, because what could happen with a 15-minute? Well, weirdly enough, on the hourly, this could turn down the hourly for a bit, and then you want to see if that comes back up. But I want to zoom out to the weekly scale and show you guys what we've been talking about. Okay, this is a major signal to pay attention to for volatility coming back in. Look at the momentum in volatility dying out to the downside, while we have similar divergences across the board on the Qs and the SPY. These things are happening at the same time, and this is when you really want to pay attention, because if this curls up for a week, if this can go green, then that can go positive. That means that volatility, the momentum to the downside is dead, and you can see a big reaction. So the reason I'm excited for this is because I'm very good when volatility is high. I make a lot more. It's very fun. You don't have to risk as much money to make money, which is all good things for a trader. So if you want to learn how to trade, based on these type of signals, based on the signals that I use during a bear market, this would be the time to get that course for $100. It's $100 for June, and it's probably worth about $2,000. So it's very good. Now, what happens here? Well, we curl up. We need to start to close at higher levels. If this can curl up, go positive, that means volatility is back. And if you remember back in these areas, right, we said, hey, short squeeze, and then we popped up, and I said, hey, this is not when volatility is coming in. This is not what you see when volatility is coming in. Everyone calling a crash right here. We were saying this is not what happens in a crash. Okay, so this came down, and look at that, we squeeze again. Now we said the riskier scenario is, yeah, you could make a divergence down here, right? The riskier scenario is you hold up better. Why is that worse? Because you're actually closer to hitting 20 right now than you would be if you were way down here. So pay attention to volatility. It's not looking the prettiest going into the next few weeks, but we're gonna pay attention if there's some kind of reaction, and then maybe some kind of retest, right? And then we actually go higher in the SPY. We will be paying attention to that on this channel. Just because I'm calling a crash in the next week or so, or some kind of major top, does not mean that I'm not willing to be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong and say this maybe isn't the moment. They are willing to trick us. So pay attention closely to these videos and pay attention to what I'm actually saying on both sides, so you're aware of both sides of the coin too. That is how you learn from me, really, is you pay. One of the things that I really think gets lost in translation is people only listen to what they want to hear, and they don't listen to the second part. Listen to the second part. You have to be aware of how they're trying to trick you. And tomorrow we could get tricked early in the morning because volatility is showing some kind of 15-minute divergence here. That leads me to believe, hey, we could see some kind of bounce. If I'm wrong, that's perfectly fine. My Nvidia puts will print, and that's perfectly fine. But I managed my risk at the end of the day. Very important to see that early on, especially for a trader. You got to learn how to manage that risk, and we teach you how to do that in the course down in the description. So thank you guys so much for joining. I really do appreciate it. The main takeaway here is volatility could come in pretty much any week going on this summer, so pay attention, and then we could get one more rig move up before election time comes. So we're paying attention to the right things. It looks very good. It's nice to see. Even on the Roaring Kitty side of things, it's like I mentioned something and then 2 days later, everyone's talking about it on Twitter. I really enjoy seeing that. It means my thinking is correct. I'm not patting myself on the back or anything. It just means what I'm paying attention to is important, and I love sharing that information with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Good luck with all your trades tomorrow. Be careful. Trade like water, and I will see you tomorrow morning for the live video. Peace.